The Union Pacific big boys were pretty big, clues in the name, and by most are often referred to as the world's largest steam locomotives, myself and Google included. But what if I told you both myself and Google may be wrong, because there existed another 18 engines that could easily go toe-to-toe with the big boys? Formed in 1938, the Duluth, Missabe and Iron Range Railway came about after the Duluth, Missabe and Northern, Spirit Lake Transfer Railway, Duluth and Iron Range and the Interstate Transfer Railway were merged into one company. Iron ore was the main traffic of the railroad, taking it from mines in Minnesota and Wisconsin to ports in the Great Lakes. The existing rolling stock of the lines was able to keep up with the work until 1940, where, thanks to the outbreak of the Second World War, the volume of iron ore the line transported practically quadrupled. Longer trains required more motive power, but rather than double-head their trains, the DM&IR simply decided to build bigger engines. Needing something that could tackle steep gradients while pulling a heavy load, the DM&IR ordered 8 engines from the Baldwin Locomotive Works, basing their design on the two 882 engines used at the time on the Western Pacific Railroad, already some of the biggest and most powerful engines in the world. These new engines, however, would be fitted with an even bigger firebox, coal-fired, and a bigger, all-season cab for the footplate crew, necessitating an extra pair of trailing wheels be fitted under the cab, giving them a 2884 Yellowstone wheel arrangement. The first engine arrived in 1941, boasting 5'3" driving wheels, 4 cylinders, a total wheelbase of 113 feet, weight of 315 tons, a tractive effort of 140,000 pound-feet, and a top speed of 45 miles an hour. As a comparison, while not as large, heavy, or as fast as a big boy, these new engines could certainly overpower them. Its tender alone was capable of holding 26 tons of coal and 25,000 gallons of water, with the engine itself consuming 10 tons of coal and around 12,000 gallons of water an hour, making the engine not only powerful, but hungry too. To put it into perspective, a report stated that the amount of coal the engine burned in 1 hour would have been enough to heat a house for 2 winters. Compared to the previous Class M1 and M2 engines used on the line, these new locomotives were able to pull loads 25% heavier than their predecessors. Classified as M3s, the engines were found to easily handle the work they were given, exceeding the railway's expectations, and as a result, the DM&IR ended up ordering 10 more locomotives, which were to be classified as M4s. Most railwaymen, however, referred to them as Yellowstones due to their wheel arrangement. As much of the iron ore traffic was seasonal, the engines saw less use in winter, and so when the new batch of M4 engines were completed in January of 1943, some of them ended up helping out on the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad until they were needed back on the DM&IR. The Rio Grande seemed to adore these locomotives, with the railroad stating that they were some of the finest engines to ever run on their line. As such, the Rio Grande went as far as to lease the engines for use on their line again the following year, along with the Northern Pacific Railroad and the Great Northern Railway, though the Rio Grande quickly returned them after an air brake failure caused engine number 224 to wreck. The Yellowstones continued to work the line and proved to be invaluable to the railroad, each hauling millions of tons of iron during their lifetimes, but their strength wasn't enough to keep them running forever. After the war, many United States railroads prioritized dieselization of their lines, and the DM&IR was no different. Steam engines were getting more and more expensive to operate, and so by 1958, after less than 20 years of service, the line began to withdraw their Yellowstone locomotives, with the last engine running in 1963. Luckily, out of the 18 built, 3 have survived into preservation, on display at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum and 2 harbors. It's still somewhat of a debate as to which engine is truly bigger. While the big boys had the lead in both weight and total length, the Yellowstones more than made up for it with their sheer power. It's a bit like Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali. We'll never truly have a solid answer, but the fun is in guessing, isn't it? That is until someone gets fed up and decides to restore a DM&IR Yellowstone to find out. Here's hoping for a railroad rumble in the jungle. Subscribe for more.